Ever feel like you're putting in the work, but your habits just aren't delivering you results? What if instead of relying on willpower, you had a structured way to assess, tweak, and maintain momentum without the burnout? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you a powerful habit reflection framework. This helps you stay on course, optimize what's working, and correct what's not. So you're always progressing without feeling stuck or even starting from scratch. I've implemented this system with many of my high performing clients, and it's completely transformed how they stay on track and sustain their habits, keeping them consistent without the cycle of frustration. So let's get into how we can do that, how we can help you use this system and reflection process to look at your habits. So first off, we need to probably dive into, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, what the Daily Core 5 is. You can watch a video up here, around here somewhere, to go and have a look at how the system was put together, what it means, um, and how you can start looking at habits in this simple method. And the habits we are looking at are simply in this sleep, eat, drink, move, and recover system. Now, what this system enables us to do is just focus in on one habit a day so that you can stay on track. I remember I came up with this system many years ago when I was struggling myself with trying to keep my habits going, keep on track, looking at the hundreds of different healthy habits I could be doing. And then I wasn't doing them. I wasn't putting them into practice. And after I tweaked and played with this system, I then put it in with my private clients and been making great strides and great changes in their lives. People that really want to challenge themselves, that challenge themselves at work, challenge themselves in their normal life, but for whatever reason, they're not on in that healthy mindset. They're not on that healthy habit success. Okay, so let's jump into and look at what is this DC5 system. Well, in the last video, again linked over here, you will be able to see how I built out a system for sleep, eat, drink, move, and recover. So we're not going to go over that today. What we're going to go over today is basically the decision making process, right? Uh, After 15 days of following the system, again, probably refer back to the other videos for this system, we go through a reflection process, a really powerful reflection process to see how our actual habits are going. And the habits are habits you have to be able to track daily, has to be a metric that you can tick off in essence and track daily to see how you're doing. We're going to use this system of remain, regress, reinforce, or replace. And what I've done is I've built a whole framework about how we can actually make that decision making process. It's like a decision tree. So let's jump in and look at what I'm looking at. The first question you're going to ask is, how did you do? Okay, well, we can get that data if I go back a screen and go into the daily tracking. Here we've got the daily tracking I did for this person. Um, and you can see that we didn't hit the goals on every day. Okay, so there were the 5 goals across. We always read sleep, eat, drink, move, and recover. And you can see that they didn't quite get everything in. How did they do? Well, if you scroll all the way down to my spreadsheet that I use, my Notion sheet, you can see that sleep was 86%, eat was 93%, drink was 53%, move was 60, and recover was 73. Overall, they were at a 73% success for that cycle of 15 days. Now, if you followed before any of my videos, you'll know that we're looking at 80% compliance as being a goal. Sometimes 70 to 80 is really good. Above 80 is awesome. But yeah, 80 being the target that we're hitting at, we don't think you can necessarily do everything you should do healthy every single day for the rest of your life. Some people will, but it can be a real mindset shift that you need to make. So this is what we did. This is what we tracked. And this is how we can see where we might be falling down in areas. So if we go back to the decision map, you can see, how did I do? So let's ask ourselves the question, how did I do? Um, let's look at it. You've got, it was really easy. I think if we refer back to the screen before, we can see, how do we do in sleep? Let's go sleep first. Oh, let me take you back a screen so you can see that too. Sleep first, 86%. Okay, let's jump straight into the framework that we've got set up. Okay, and it was really easy. Perfect. Okay, so let's look at this. This was really easy. Let's ask the next one. Excellent. Okay, so let's push on. All right, you did it really well. Let's push on. So we're going to ask ourselves another question based upon that. And do you think you can hit this new habit daily without tracking it? So do you feel like it's become something that you can successfully do without having to physically mark off and tick off in your sheet that you've correctly done it? All right, and there's just a simple yes, no question. If we say yes, fantastic. Let's replace. Okay, let's move on to a new habit if you think you've ingrained it. Habits can take anything from 6 days, I've heard the research, right, all the way up to 90 plus. I don't think there's any definitive research on how long habit takes to actually be ingrained, but it's individual, right? So have you reached that? You're going to ask yourself that question. And if so, you're going to replace it. So replace it. Okay, new habit. Do we go the same subcategory or do we change subcategory? Which means if you followed through so far with any of my other videos, same subcategory would be, okay, we're doing sleep. We're working at the length of time we're sleeping. We did 6 hours. Do I need to replace that and do a different move to looking after my sleep hygiene? Or do I want to go to bed at a certain time? So same subcategory would be, well, we did 6 hours and now I'm going to push to 7 hours because we're going to push towards that 7 to 9 hour sort of band. And and if you have done as much as you can in that subcategory, then let's change to a different subcategory. Okay, you might need to go back and check some of the videos just to see exactly what I mean by the subcategories. I don't want to get this video too complex. This is more about refining your own process, okay, and your own habits and seeing how well you've done. So this is really valuable for us to move on. Now let's go back and look at the other branch of the decision tree. Okay, do you think that you can hit this habit? No, I don't think I can. Okay, we're going to reinforce it. Okay, so it's called the R4 process. We've got replace, we've now got reinforce. Okay, so you don't think you can do it without tracking, so we're going to reinforce it. That's going to lead us to another question. And that question is to be, have you hit the natural limit for this task? So for instance, you've hit your 7 or 8 hours or 9 hours or whatever, 7 to 9 hour band of sleep. Is that the natural limit? Then we can answer that question. It's an either yes or no. Yes, we've hit the natural limit. Let's go back to replacing it again then. Okay, because you've hit the natural limit and you can't take any further, and you feel like it's something you need to change because you've scored over 85%, you should be looking to challenge yourself a little bit more. The answer might be no. And so the question is how far to push on. So we use the example of 6 hours sleep. Do we go to 7? Or do we push to 6.5? Or do we go straight to 7? Right? Do you see how we make that decision based upon whether or not you feel, it's not me, I don't care what you do, I do care, but I don't mind how you get about your result, but can you get there through doing that? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That's under the yes, we did really well phase. You know, it was easy, you got 85% plus. So if we jump back to this screen again and look at the next category, eat. Okay, we smashed eat, 93%. Right, that person did absolutely amazingly. So 93%, we go through the same process. Okay, is it easy? And that's it. If you scored more than 85%, do you think you can do it? Same process. If we go back again and look at the next one, oh, drink. Drink was appalling. What was the drink habit? Let's just go back and you need to watch some of the other videos to see this. But here in the cycle one, the drink habit was 2 litres of water before 1 p.m. And the person absolutely failed at maintaining that. And here you can see the sleep was actually 10:30. So in that case, we might go to 10 p.m. maybe that's enough. Maybe 10:30 was good, and you get the idea of how you can adjust your own habits based upon how you've done over those 15-day period. So water, 1 p.m. Let's jump back to this screen. Didn't do very well. We'll save that because we're going to make our way across to this side. So let's look at the next something that was fairly easy, something that was 70 to 85%. If I scroll down, we look, nothing was really there. 73. Yes, there we go. 70 to 85%. Let's look at what the decision process would be around here. So it was fairly easy. What's the question? How easy though? Exactly how easy did you find it? You know, was it still challenging or not too challenging? I mean, you can ask yourself different questions. I've just set some basic questions to help you get through this, but this is really the essence of what you're looking at. Was it still challenging or was it not too challenging? So if it was still challenging, just remain. Don't move. So far we've had replace and reinforce, and here's the first view of remain. Okay, just remain there. Keep working on it. You don't think you've already, it's not above 85, so we don't think this is going to be ingrained. If it's not too challenging, well, you are then going to ask yourself to try and still do it, but we're going to go down the reinforce route. So if you remember the reinforce route here, we had questions about whether it was yes, no. Then if it's a yes, we replace, new habit, same subcategory, or change the subcategory. And then if it was reinforce, we're going to go no, how far to push on again. So you're asking yourself similar questions. Yeah, the only difference is if you got between 70 and 80, I would say you probably want to remain there to start with, to really ingrain something. Your choice, your system, my system, your cycle. It depends what you're looking to achieve. So if we jump back to our previous screen and look at something a little bit more, we've got a 60% here. Okay, 60% for move. So what was the move goal? The move goal was 6,500 steps or exercise, doing resistance training just for 5 minutes or 15 minutes. So this person was really didn't do very well in that goal of moving. So just remind ourselves again what it was. They only scored 60% in the move category. So let's go back here and look at our decision tree. And in our decision tree, we see it was hard. We're going to ask ourselves a question. How hard though? See a similarity of thought process here? Just you really got to reflect. I'll give you the framework. You've got to ask yourself the questions and be honest with yourself. You feel like you can do it next time? Okay, guess what? We're going to remain. Simple. Just remain. Track that for another 15 days in your cycle too. It was just too hard. Okay, can I make it easier? Yeah, if you can make it easier, we got a yes no question. Okay, so let's go. Yes, I can make it easier. We're going to regress, and this is the final one of the four framework. Regress. Regress allows us to make it easier. The question is how much to regress. Okay, so if you were failing here, the move was 6,500 steps. Maybe check your step counter on your steps on your phone or on your smartwatch, and let's go. Okay, I was making 5,300, but I wasn't making the 6,500 I was gold at. So I still want to go towards that 6,500 and even push beyond in subsequent cycles. But let's get a goal I can hit first. So maybe we drop down to 5,500 or 6,000. Again, completely up to you how much to regress it. And this is going to be a little bit of every 15 days you go through this process, and that's how you can really hone in on the things that are working and the things that you can progress and really drill down on. If the answer is no to that, can I make it easier, then we need to replace it. Okay, so if you can't make something easier, if you're at the bottom level of whatever it is, then you're going to replace that thing. Okay, again, the same questions as before: new habit, same subcategory, or change the subcategory. It's fairly simple. Then finally, I don't think we had anything below 50%. We didn't. I think the lowest was 50, 53, if I remind myself. Yeah, 53. But let's assume that was 50. Let's assume that that person didn't make it all the way through. Okay, they're right on the cusp of it was too hard or it was really hard. Okay, it was really, really hard. You didn't even score it half the time you tried to do it, and it was front of mind because you were tracking it. So again, no question here. Let's just change that outcome. Let's get you the way forward. Let's get habits working for you and not habits working against you. So, what are the questions we're going to ask ourselves? Can I make it easier or do I need a different focus? Can I make it easier? Again, we've got a yes no question. And as you can probably guess from the color scheme, or maybe you haven't guessed that yet, we've got a regress, how far to regress, or we've got a no and we are going to replace. Come back into here, and then I need a different focus. You can't make it easier. You could just choose this anyway. You could go, Joe, what? That habit was just crazy of me to take on board. I'm not going to do that. So again, replace it. Replace it. Same questions you asked down here in the no, on the no side of make it easier. You know, you make it new habit, same subcategory or different subcategory. So if you look at this whole decision tree, if I zoom out, you can see that we've got a whole process that just delivers us to an end. Yeah, it gives us an absolute end to this. Do you know what? I'm going to make this decision tree completely available to you free of charge, no email required, link in the description. Go and click at it, and you can just use this in your own cycle. So we've discussed the decision tree. What we need to think about then is how do we actually build out our second cycle? So, first time seeing this, you might not know the exact way that we build these 5 categories, but you can see from here that I had these 5 categories that we tracked. I've got this AI button on, turn that off. 5 categories that I tracked, and each of those categories allowed me to work through ingraining habits. We just had a, oh, didn't want to zoom that out. We've just had a look at the tracking of that, okay, where we were looking at the tracking, and we've just been through the decision making tree, okay. What we're going to do now is look at how do I build in my next set of habits. So here are a set of habits, but this is delete this out. This is not for this particular, you can see different habits for different people. Okay, this is not this particular game person. Okay, we're there. Sorry about that. So sleep. How do we do on sleep? We smash sleep, 86%. What we're doing, we're bed at 10:30. What do I want to do? I want to do better than that. I want to be in bed by 10. I'm getting up early. I want, okay, 10 a.m. Sorry, 10 p.m. New habit. We've replaced it. Sorry, we've reinforced it by going at a higher level towards maybe, I don't know what your end, this person's end goal, imaginary person's end goal would be. Eat, we smashed as well. The eat, just remind myself, was protein 150 grams. So we're going to, this person smashed it. They want to, they think they can continue. Let's go down this route and zoom in. They think they can continue at that level. Do you think so? They're going to replace it. Okay, let's replace it in a different subcategory. Now we're going to change subcategory within eat. So in this case, that would be changing subcategory. So the last one was a what to eat, and this time they're going to move into how to eat. So they're eating enough protein now for their own individual goals. They think they can continue doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in an eat goal that is different. So we've got 2 others. We've got how to eat and when to eat. And in this case, we're going to go how to eat, and we're going to go mindful fork for a spell, fork, knife down, which means fork and knife down between every mouthful. Okay, great. I'll just click on and have a quick check on the drink. The drink was, we said 53%. Was trying to do 2 litres before 1 p.m., get a little bit more fluid on board beforehand. Let's just raise that. Didn't do very well, right? So go back to our decision-making tree. This was 50 to 70%. Do you think you can do it next time? No, I think it was too hard. It was just too hard. Okay, so we're down this tree now, this side. Then, how can I make it easier? Can I make it easier? Yeah, I could make it easier. So yes. Then so that means regress it. How much to regress? Well, maybe I get my try the same goal, drinking the 2 liters of water before a certain time, which means that let's go for 2 liters before 2 p.m. Okay, so we're just taking a little bit of gas out of that in terms of the pressure to get that goal done. Could have made a different decision, but this is the decision I've made this time for the next 15-day cycle. Don't forget, we're doing this every 15 days. So you're reflecting and assessing and making those little tweaks and changes and really moving forward. Okay, so let's look at the move. The move, we just discussed that. What didn't do very well. We suggested that they're going to regress. So just remind ourselves of that. We said they didn't do it. It was a 50 to 70% that the person got. Just check that. It was move was 60. So they scored 60, between 50 and 70%. They can remain. No, they want to make it easier again, so they're going to regress. So their new goal is going to be 5,500 steps. Yeah. Or we'll repeat the 5 mins resistance. Again, they didn't hit that goal. 5 minutes is still, I don't think we could regress that down to, unless we could just say do 10 body weight squats, for instance. That could be a goal that somebody sets to really regress there and get their habit going in a exercise element. Within move, we have exercise, activity, and sport as our 3 subcategories, just to jump in there. And whilst we're looking at this one, let's make our last decision around the last habit, which was recover. I'll recover, which was omega-3 fish oils. Okay, and we scored 73%. Let's jump back into our goal. 73%. Okay, that's here. That's it. It was fairly easy. Shared the right screen with you. It was fairly easy. How easy though? Next question. Still challenging. I don't think without ticking off I would be able to do my omega-3. So do you know what? I'm going to remain. Let's just keep this the same, not changing too much. Omega-3, if I could spell. That's terrible. On my way. I don't know what that means. Probably can't see this share. That's great that I'm not sharing my screen right now, because you can't see the idiotic things my autocomplete is coming out with. So let's go down. We said it was omega-3. We're going to remain omega-3. Okay, so that was just a really simple way of looking at my tracking habits for 15 days, looking at how those habits can then, how I did on those habits or how you did on those habits. Those habits are completely unique to you. And with that, you're then able to keep your habits going and keep going to the next stage. Okay, and what is the next stage? Well, you can find out what the next stage is right in this video here, where you find out how to really dial into one of the really daily core 5 habits. See you there.